hometown hero Clint Boyer won the Truck Series race yesterday here, but it was after the Truck Series race that kind of grabbed the headlines. What went on afterwards? An alleged altercation between Richard Childress and Kyle Busch. For more on that, let's go to Wendy Venturini.
Thanks, Johnny. I thought it was going to be a slow news day here at Kansas, and man, we have our hands full. It started last night following the truck race. An alleged punch was thrown from team owner Richard Childress to Kyle Busch. Now, when everything broke down this morning and the stories and rumors were flying around, what we know so far is that Kyle Busch, Richard Childress, both at the racetrack. They've met with NASCAR. Coach Gibbs has met with NASCAR, and the continuation, we're going to follow this. The 22 of Joey Coulter is who you see there. What happened in the truck race was a late race altercation. Apparently, Kyle Busch was not happy with Joey Coulter, gave him a donut on his car post-race. Now, that donut post-race is very common in racing, but nonetheless, an alleged punch was thrown. Mike Helton, the president of NASCAR, addressed the media just moments ago. I stepped into the media center and listened to him. This is what he had to say.
Obviously after last night's incident, we began looking into it through the evening, and as recent as 15 minutes ago, meeting with different parties. We've concluded that the driver of the 18 truck, Kyle Busch, did nothing to provoke or to cause the reactions that, in our opinion, would have violated probation. Did nothing that would have warranted the actions of Richard Childress, and so we'll have to, once we get today's race concluded, which is the focus of today, we'll have to decide what NASCAR's reaction is to Richard Childress as a member of NASCAR in an action against another NASCAR member. The biggest topic today, certainly through the conversations outside of the incident itself, was to be sure that today's event went on correctly and safely for everybody involved. And both the Richard Childress Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing organizations, we've made clear to them that our expectations is that both Joe Gibbs and Richard Childress meet with their teams to be sure that nobody from their organizations felt like there was anything that needed to be done from their side. So we'll focus on today's race now, and then quickly, maybe more quickly than normal, come back with our reaction as it relates to NASCAR or NASCAR member Richard Childress.
And what Mike Helton is referring to is usually on Tuesday afternoon. That's when penalties are assessed from anything that happened from the previous weekend. But as you could tell, Mike Helton said it might happen a little bit sooner. Now, what else did Mike Helton say? He said there was restrictions today on Richard Childress of where he can and cannot go in the garage area at Kansas Speedway. There was a question arise to Mike Helton whether Richard Childress would be ejected from the racetrack, and they said they needed the leader of the organization present today for RCR. That is Richard Childress. He is allowed to stay here, but there is restrictions where he can and cannot go. Johnny, we will be following this story for the next 2 hours and have plenty more as the show goes on.
And Wendy, we also understand that no police report has been filed as of yet. Mike Helton was referring to Kyle Busch being on probation because he would, whatever probation means, KP, that was from incidents involving Kevin Harvick, a member of Richard Childress' racing organization. So this thing has been brewing for a while.
Yeah, that's not the first. This is not the first incident between Kyle Busch and RCR Racing. We can go back to Darlington where they got into it. You remember the 29 of Kevin Harvick and the 18 and how the 18 pushes the 29 car into the wall. Childress was extremely upset. There's a car, you see it hit the inside wall, not hardly a scratch on it. Now it's wiped out. They got to put it back together. So there's a lot of things like that. It's going to be interesting to see what NASCAR does. Those guys got $25,000 fines and 6 weeks probation. NASCAR hands out probation like candy companies hand out free samples. Let me say that. And it means absolutely nothing. So this is going to be interesting.
And Kenny, we also got to go back to Charlotte last year. There was an incident between Jeff Burton and Kyle Busch, and that had to be at least the tip of the iceberg.
We're going to talk about Charlotte in a minute, but listen to this. Richard, here we go. Look at this is Jeff Burton, one of Richard Childress' drivers. He's in Kyle Busch's face. Now, Kyle doesn't do anything wrong. He never retaliates, okay? Because Kyle never retaliates, here's what happened yesterday. Richard Childress had one bad nerve left on him. Kyle Busch jumped on that nerve, and that really made Richard mad. Now, let's have fun and speculate. Speculation is this, is that when Richard Childress and those two got into it, Kyle Busch said, "You punch like an old man." Oh.
What's wrong with that world, man?
Yeah, look. I'd hate to be like, what is Kyle, 25, and I got my butt kicked by an old man? But let's be honest, though. The King used to kick my butt all the time, so let's be honest.
But here's what infuriates everybody is Kyle Busch never punches. He just starts it, then he walks away. So we're having a lot of fun. It's the Hatfield and McCoys, ladies and gentlemen.
Boys, have at it. One Childress driver who is not afraid of a fight is Kevin Harvick. While the jab may have been in jest, Harvick's comments from the media center last year led us to wonder who the lucky driver is this year. So Harvick was able to be in the right place at the right time, and that's why he is known now as the closer. He is able to be there. 9 total laps led in 3 wins this season. He only led the last lap at Charlotte, but it doesn't matter how many laps you lead. It's the one at the end that counts.